The Arizona sun blazed mercilessly over Interstate 10 as Marcus "Ghost" Daniels led his convoy of 7 motorcycles through the outskirts of Phoenix. The thermometer had climbed past 104 degrees Fahrenheit, typical for a late June afternoon in the Sonoran Desert. Heat waves shimmered off the asphalt, distorting the horizon into rippling mirages. Marcus adjusted his sunglasses beneath his weathered helmet, feeling the familiar weight of his leather vest embroidered with the Desert Rider's patch against his back. Behind him rode 6 loyal members: Tommy "Wrench" Patterson, his second-in-command and mechanical genius; Vincent "Viper" Harrison, the youngest at 28 but fiercely protective; Raymond "Ray" Coleman, a former construction worker with hands like steel; Daniel "Diesel" Brooks, whose massive frame matched his gentle heart; Kevin "Spike" Matthews, a sharp-tongued veteran with 2 tours in Afghanistan; and Gregory "Grim" Foster, their quiet observer who missed nothing. They had spent the weekend at a charity motorcycle rally in Tucson, raising funds for a veterans rehabilitation center. The Desert Riders, founded 12 years ago, prided themselves on community service, a stark contrast to the notorious outlaw clubs that dominated headlines. Marcus had built the club on principles of brotherhood, respect, and giving back. After losing his younger sister Angela to a drunk driver 7 years ago, he channeled his grief into protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. "Ghost, we need fuel." Tommy's voice crackled through the helmet communicator. "Next exit has a truck stop." Marcus raised his left hand, signaling the turn. The convoy peeled off onto State Route 85, heading toward a weathered gas station that serviced the less traveled routes. The building stood isolated against the desert landscape, a faded blue structure with rusted pumps and a flickering neon sign advertising cold drinks and hot food. As they pulled into the cracked parking lot, Marcus noticed the eerie silence. No other vehicles occupied the space except for a battered Honda Civic with a shattered rear window. Something felt wrong. His instincts, honed through years of street awareness, prickled at the base of his neck. "Stay sharp," he muttered to Tommy as he dismounted. That's when he heard it, a small, broken sob coming from behind the dumpsters near the side of the building. Marcus exchanged glances with Vincent, who had heard it too. They approached cautiously, boots crunching on gravel and scattered trash. Behind the dumpster, pressed against the sun-baked concrete wall, crouched a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old, wearing a torn yellow sundress stained with dirt and what looked like blood. Her blonde hair hung in tangled strands around her face, and her bare knees were scraped raw. When she looked up at Marcus with wide, terrified blue eyes, rimmed with red from crying, his heart clenched. "Hey there, sweetheart," Marcus said softly, crouching down to her level and removing his sunglasses. "It's okay. We're not going to hurt you. My name is Marcus." "What's yours?" The girl's lower lip trembled. "Harper. Harper Mitchell." "Harper, that's a beautiful name," Marcus continued, his voice gentle. "Can you tell me what happened? Are you hurt?" Harper's small body shook as fresh tears spilled down her dirty cheeks. "Please, please, you have to help her. You have to save my mommy." The other riders had gathered around, their imposing figures forming a protective semicircle. Daniel knelt down, pulling a bottle of water from his pack. "Here, honey, drink this slowly." Harper took the bottle with trembling hands, but didn't drink. Instead, she clutched it like a lifeline and looked desperately at Marcus. "He took her. Derek took my mum. He's going to hurt her real bad this time. He said if she tried to leave again, he'd make sure nobody ever found her." Marcus felt rage building in his chest, but he kept his expression calm. "Who's Derek, Harper?" "Mommy's ex-boyfriend," Harper choked out between sobs. "We ran away 3 days ago. We were hiding at a motel, but he found us this morning. He grabbed Mommy at the gas station when she was paying. I ran and hid. He was so mad. He had his friends with him, 2 scary men. They put Mommy in a white van and Her voice dissolved into heartbreaking wails. Marcus gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Harper, listen to me. You were very brave to hide. Very brave. Where did they take your mother?" "The old house," Harper whispered, her voice hoarse. "The one on Cactus Road where Derek used to cook bad stuff. Mommy told me Derek sold drugs there before. It's abandoned," she said. "Brown house with broken windows. Please, please save her. He's gonna kill her this time." "I know he is." Tommy pulled out his phone. "I'm calling 911. "Wait," Kevin said, his jaw tight. "How long ago did this happen, Harper?" Maybe an hour? I don't know. I walked here. My feet hurt." She lifted one small foot, showing a bleeding sole. Marcus's mind raced. An hour? If this Derek character was violent and paranoid about being caught, police sirens might trigger a deadly response. But they couldn't just storm in recklessly either. He looked at his brothers, seeing the same conflict reflected in their eyes. "Ghost, we need to call the cops," Raymond said firmly. "This is kidnapping, assault. This is serious." "I know," Marcus replied. "But look at this kid. Look at her. If we wait for police to mobilize, get warrants, surround the place, how much time does her mother have?" Vincent crossed his arms. "So, what are you thinking?" Marcus stood, pulling Harper gently to her feet. "Tommy, call 911. Tell them everything Harper told us. Give them the location. But also tell them we're going to scout the area. That's all. Just scout. We're concerned citizens who found a missing child." "Marcus," Tommy warned. "I'm not saying we raid the place," Marcus clarified, though his eyes told a different story. "But we can get eyes on it. Make sure the woman is still alive. Maybe the situation resolves itself before cops arrive." Gregory, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "And if it doesn't? If we see her getting hurt?" Marcus looked down at Harper, who gazed up at him with desperate hope. He thought of Angela, of the phone call that shattered his world, of arriving too late to say goodbye. He couldn't be too late again. "Then we do what's right," Marcus said quietly. "We protect the innocent." Daniel nodded. "I'm in." One by one, the others agreed. Tommy made the call, reporting the situation to Phoenix police while deliberately keeping details vague about their intentions. Then he pulled up a map on his phone, searching for abandoned properties on Cactus Road. "Found it," Tommy said, zooming in. "About 11 miles northwest from here. Residential area gone to hell. Lots of foreclosures and vacant properties." Marcus knelt again before Harper. "Sweetheart, we're going to help your mom, but I need you to stay safe. Do you have anyone we can call? Grandparents, an aunt or uncle?" Harper shook her head. "Just Mommy. It's always been just us." "Okay," Marcus said. "Then you're staying with our friend at the diner across the street. See that place?" He pointed to a small roadside restaurant. "We'll ask the owner to watch you until we come back with your mom. Okay? You promise you'll save her?" Harper's voice cracked with desperation. "You promise?" Marcus knew better than to make promises he couldn't guarantee, but looking into those pleading eyes, he couldn't bring himself to offer anything less than hope. "I promise we'll do everything we can." Harper suddenly wrapped her small arms around Marcus's neck, hugging him tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Vincent gently lifted Harper into his arms, her exhausted body going limp against his shoulder. As they walked toward the diner, Marcus gathered his crew. "Listen up," he said, his voice taking on a commanding edge. "We don't know what we're walking into. This Derek could have weapons, his buddies too. We're not vigilantes, but we're not cowards either. If that woman is in immediate danger, we intervene. Otherwise, we observe and let the police handle it. Everyone clear?" 7 heads nodded in unison. Marcus felt the familiar rush of adrenaline, the same sensation he'd experienced during his younger years when street justice was more common in his neighborhood. He'd walked away from that life, built something better. But sometimes, the old instincts were exactly what you needed. They mounted their bikes, as Vincent returned from the diner. "Owner's name is Patricia Chen. Good woman. She's keeping Harper fed and safe. Gave me her number." "Good," Marcus said, starting his engine. The deep rumble echoed across the empty parking lot. "Let's ride." The 7 motorcycles roared to life, kicking up dust as they pulled onto the highway. The sun continued its relentless assault, but Marcus barely noticed. His focus had narrowed to a single objective, reaching Cactus Road before it was too late. As they wove through traffic, Marcus thought about Jennifer Mitchell, a woman he'd never met, whose face he couldn't picture, but whose life now rested partially in his hands. What had she endured? How long had she suffered? And what kind of monster was this Derek that would terrorize a mother in front of her child? 15 minutes later, they entered a neighborhood that time and economic collapse had forgotten. Foreclosed homes with shattered windows, lined streets where weeds pushed through cracked sidewalks, shopping carts lay overturned in yards, graffiti decorated walls with territorial markings and crude messages. Tommy navigated using his phone's GPS, leading them deeper into the decay until they reached Cactus Road. Marcus raised his fist, signaling everyone to slow down. They needed stealth now, not intimidation. "There," Kevin said, pointing to a brown single-story house midway down the block. Plywood covered most windows. The yard was overgrown with dead vegetation, and parked in the driveway sat a white van with tinted windows. Marcus's jaw clenched. They'd found it. Marcus signaled for the group to park 2 houses down, tucking their motorcycles behind an abandoned sedan with missing wheels. The engines cut off simultaneously, leaving an oppressive silence broken only by the distant hum of traffic and the occasional bark of a neighborhood dog. The brown house loomed ahead, its decay matching the desolation surrounding it. Marcus could see the van more clearly now. Rust spots near the wheel wells, a dented rear bumper, Arizona license plate barely visible beneath caked dirt. No movement came from inside the house, but that meant nothing. "Weapons check," Marcus whispered. The Desert Riders weren't an outlaw club, but they weren't naive either. Tommy produced a tire iron from his saddlebag. Raymond carried a heavy steel chain he normally used for securing his bike. Kevin had his military combat knife. Gregory pulled out a tactical flashlight heavy enough to double as a club. Daniel simply cracked his enormous knuckles. His fists were weapons enough. Vincent checked the canister of pepper spray on his belt. Marcus himself carried a folding knife and years of street fighting experience. Not exactly an arsenal, but they weren't planning a war. Just a rescue. "Daniel, Raymond, you 2 circle around back," Marcus instructed. "Watch for rear exits. Don't engage unless absolutely necessary. Tommy, Gregory, you're with me at the front. Vincent, Kevin, east side of the house. Look for windows any way to see inside. And someone needs to watch that van. If they try to run, we block them in." Everyone moved with practiced coordination. Marcus had trained them well over the years, not for violence, but for the kind of situations where good people needed to act decisively. Marcus, Tommy, and Gregory crept toward the house, using the overgrown bushes and debris as cover. As they neared, Marcus heard it. A woman's muffled scream from inside, suddenly cut short. His blood ran cold. Tommy met his eyes, and Marcus saw his own fury reflected there. They moved faster, reaching the front door. It hung slightly ajar, the lock broken long ago. Through the gap, Marcus could hear voices. "You think you can just leave me, Jennifer?" A man's voice, slurred and angry. "After everything I did for you, I gave you a place to stay, money for that brat of yours. You gave me bruises and nightmares." Jennifer's voice rang out, strong despite the terror Marcus heard beneath it. "You put me in the hospital twice, Derek. I won't let Harper grow up thinking that's normal." The sharp crack of a slap echoed through the house, followed by a heavy thud. Marcus's restraint snapped. He pushed the door open, stepping into a dark hallway that reeked of mildew and chemicals. The walls were stained with water damage and spray paint. Trash littered the floor. He moved silently toward the voices, Tommy and Gregory flanking him. They emerged into what had once been a living room. Now it served as a nightmare tableau. Jennifer Mitchell sat bound to a chair in the center of the space, duct tape across her mouth, blood dripping from her nose. She looked to be in her early 30s, with the same blonde hair as Harper, though hers was matted with sweat and dirt. Her left eye was swelling shut, and bruises covered her arms. Standing over her was Derek Thompson, early 40s, gaunt face marked by poor hygiene and drug use, wearing a stained tank top that revealed prison tattoos on his arms. His eyes held the manic gleam of someone high on methamphetamine. Two other men flanked the room. One was massively overweight, maybe 300 pounds, with a thick beard and holding a baseball bat. The other was wiry and twitchy, pacing near a broken window while smoking a cigarette, a gun tucked visibly in his waistband. None of them had noticed the intruders yet. Marcus assessed the situation in seconds. 3 against 3 in this room, with his other crew members outside. The gun was the primary threat. Jennifer was injured but alive. Derek was focused on her, drunk with power and probably high. "Derek Thompson," Marcus said, his voice cutting through the space like a blade. All 3 men spun around. Derek's face twisted with confusion, then rage. "Who the hell are you?" "We're your reckoning," Marcus replied calmly, stepping fully into the room. Tommy and Gregory spread out, creating multiple targets. The wiry man reached for his gun, but Vincent and Kevin burst through a side door at that moment, having entered through a broken window. Vincent's pepper spray hit the gunman directly in the face before he could draw. The man screamed, clawing at his eyes and dropping to his knees. The large man with the bat charged at Daniel, who had entered from the back. Daniel sidestepped smoothly, grabbed the bat mid-swing and yanked it away with frightening ease. Then he drove his fist into the big man's stomach, doubling him over. A follow-up strike to the jaw sent the man crashing into the wall, where he slumped, dazed. Derek grabbed a knife from his belt, holding it toward Jennifer's throat. "Back off! All of you back off, or I swear I'll cut her." Marcus stopped, raising his hands. "Derek, think about this. Your friends are done. It's just you now. And in about 5 minutes, this place will be swarming with cops. Harper told them everything." Derek's eyes widened. "Harper? That little bitch actually—" He didn't finish the sentence. Jennifer, despite being bound, suddenly threw her weight backward, tipping the chair and herself away from Derek's knife. It was the opening Marcus needed. He lunged forward, closing the distance before Derek could react. Marcus grabbed Derek's knife hand, twisting the wrist with precise force until the blade clattered to the floor. Then he drove his knee into Derek's gut, followed by an elbow to the face. Derek staggered backward, blood pouring from his nose. "You broke my nose! You broke my—" Raymond appeared behind Derek, wrapping the steel chain around Derek's arms and yanking them behind his back. "Shut up!" Raymond growled. Tommy was already freeing Jennifer, carefully peeling the duct tape from her mouth and cutting through the zip ties on her wrists and ankles. She gasped as circulation returned, then immediately broke into sobs. "Harper," she whispered. "Where's Harper? Is she okay?" "She's safe," Marcus assured her, kneeling beside the chair. "She's at a diner with a nice woman named Patricia. She's the one who brought us here. Your daughter is incredibly brave, Mrs. Mitchell." Jennifer's face crumpled with relief and anguish. "He would have killed me. He said he would, and I believed him. I've been trying to escape for months, but he always finds me." "Not anymore," Marcus said firmly. "You hear those sirens?" Indeed, the distant wail of police sirens grew louder. Tommy had kept the 911 line open, and dispatch had traced the location while sending units. "We need to secure these 3 and get out front," Kevin said, zip-tying the gunman's hands. Vincent had already done the same to the large man, who was groaning but not resisting. They dragged all 3 men outside just as 4 Phoenix police cruisers screeched to a halt in front of the house, lights flashing. Officers emerged with weapons drawn. "Hands up!" Everyone hands up! Marcus and his crew immediately complied, raising their hands high. Officers, I'm Marcus Daniels. We're the ones who called this in. The victim is inside, injured but alive. These 3 men are the perpetrators. A female sergeant approached cautiously, her nameplate reading SGT Patricia Winters. She looked at the scene. 7 bikers, 3 restrained men, and quickly made her assessment. Someone want to explain what happened here? She demanded. Before Marcus could respond, Jennifer emerged from the house, supported by Gregory. They saved my life, she said, her voice shaking but clear. These men saved my life. Derek Thompson kidnapped me, assaulted me, threatened to kill me. My daughter found these bikers and begged them to help. They did. Sergeant Winters lowered her weapon slightly, her expression softening. Ma'am, you need medical attention. Anderson, call EMTs. An officer moved to his radio while another began reading Derek his rights. The meth head struggled, shouting obscenities until an officer forced him into a cruiser. Over the next hour, statements were taken. Paramedics arrived and treated Jennifer's injuries. Broken nose, concussion, multiple contusions, but nothing life-threatening. They wanted to transport her to the hospital, but she refused until she could see Harper. Marcus arranged it, calling Patricia Chen. 20 minutes later, Vincent arrived on his bike with Harper holding on tightly behind him, wearing a helmet 3 sizes too big. The moment Harper saw her mother, she leaped off the motorcycle and ran. "Mommy!" Jennifer caught her daughter and they collapsed together on the curb, crying and holding each other. Marcus turned away, giving them privacy, but also hiding the moisture in his own eyes. Sergeant Winters approached him. "Mr. Daniels, what you and your club did today was both brave and incredibly reckless. You could have been killed. You could have made the situation worse. But we didn't," Marcus replied quietly. "No, you didn't," she acknowledged. "And that little girl has her mother because of it. I'm going to include that in my report. But Marcus, next time, let us do our job." "Will there be charges against us?" Tommy asked. Sergeant Winters sighed. "That's not my call. But between you and me, I don't think the DA is going to prosecute men who saved a domestic violence victim from her abuser. Just don't make a habit of vigilante justice." "We're not vigilantes," Marcus said. "We're just people who couldn't walk away." As the police finished their work and began loading Derek and his accomplices into separate vehicles, Jennifer approached Marcus. She looked fragile but determined, holding Harper's hand. "I don't know how to thank you," she began, her voice thick with emotion. "I don't even know your names, all of you. You risked your lives for someone you didn't know." Marcus shook his head. "You don't owe us anything, Ms. Mitchell. Your daughter's courage is what saved you. She's the hero here." Harper buried her face in her mother's side, embarrassed but pleased. "Where will you go?" Vincent asked gently. "Do you have somewhere safe?" Jennifer's face fell. No. We've been staying at cheap motels, moving every few days. I lost my job 2 months ago because I missed too many shifts. Derek would show up and cause scenes. I don't have family in Arizona. I have maybe $300 to my name and nowhere to go that he doesn't know about." Tommy exchanged glances with Marcus. "Derek's going to prison for a long time. Kidnapping, assault, probably drug charges once they search this place." "But he has friends," Jennifer said bitterly. "Other dealers, people he knows. They'll come after me for testifying. I'm never going to be safe here." Marcus made a decision. "Yes, you will. Give us a day. We know people, good people. There's a women's shelter in Central Phoenix that specializes in domestic violence cases. They provide housing, legal advocacy, counseling, help with employment. They can get you into their program and they're equipped to handle security concerns." "I can't afford," Jennifer started. "It's funded by donations and grants," Gregory interjected. "We've worked with them before on fundraisers, no cost to you." Jennifer's eyes filled with fresh tears. "Why are you doing this? Why do you care?" Marcus thought of Angela, of the drunk driver who stole her from the world, of every moment since when he'd felt powerless to protect someone who needed it. Because someone should have cared before it got this far, he said simply. Because Harper deserves to grow up without fear. And because you deserve a life where you're not looking over your shoulder. Jennifer pulled Marcus into a hug, catching him off guard. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for giving us a chance." As the sun began to set over Phoenix, painting the desert sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Marcus watched Harper and Jennifer walk toward the ambulance for a final checkup. The little girl turned and waved at him, a genuine smile on her face for the first time since they'd met. Marcus waved back, feeling something shift in his chest. This was why the desert riders existed, not for the road, not for the brotherhood, though those mattered, but for moments like this, when the strong stood up for the weak, when strangers became saviors, when hope survived against all odds. "We did good today, Ghost," Tommy said, clapping him on the shoulder. "Yeah," Marcus agreed, "we did." But as he mounted his motorcycle and prepared to leave, he couldn't shake the feeling that this story wasn't over. Derek Thompson was in custody, but what about the system that had failed Jennifer repeatedly? What about the other women trapped in similar nightmares? One rescue wouldn't change the world, but maybe it could change one world, and maybe that was enough. 3 days after the rescue, Marcus sat in the cluttered office of Chrysalis Domestic Violence Shelter in central Phoenix, listening to Amanda Rodriguez, the intake coordinator, explain Jennifer and Harper's situation. The shelter occupied a nondescript building deliberately kept unmarked for security purposes. A maze of meeting rooms, counseling spaces, and temporary living quarters designed to protect those fleeing violence. "Jennifer's case is complicated," Amanda said, pushing her glasses up her nose. She was a petite woman in her 40s with graying hair and eyes that had seen too much suffering. Derek Thompson is being held on $500,000 bail, which he can't post. But his associates have been asking questions around town. We've had to increase security protocols. Marcus leaned forward, his jaw tight. What kind of questions? Where Jennifer's staying, whether she's pressed charges, the usual intimidation tactics. Amanda sighed. The good news is that Jennifer's agreed to testify. The DA's building a solid case. Kidnapping, assault, false imprisonment. Plus, they found enough methamphetamine at that house to add manufacturing and distribution charges. Derek's looking at 20 years minimum. "And the bad news?" Vincent asked. He'd accompanied Marcus to the meeting, along with Tommy. "The bad news is that 20 years doesn't start today. It starts after trial, after sentencing, after appeals. That could be months or over a year. Jennifer needs long-term housing, employment, legal assistance for things like custody orders and restraining orders. She needs therapy for the trauma, and Harper needs counseling too." Amanda spread her hands. "We can provide most of that, but our emergency housing is limited to 90 days. After that, she needs transitional housing, which has a waiting list." Tommy rubbed his beard thoughtfully. "What about the apartment complex on McDowell Road? The one managed by that veteran who came to our charity ride last month, Christopher Wade." Marcus snapped his fingers. "That's right. He said he reserves a few units for people in difficult situations. Let me call him." 20 minutes and one phone conversation later, they had secured a 2-bedroom apartment for Jennifer and Harper at a reduced rate that she could manage once employed. Christopher Wade, a former Marine who understood the importance of sanctuary, had been moved by their story and offered additional security measures for their unit. "You guys are miracle workers," Amanda said, genuine surprise in her voice. "Most people make promises and disappear. You keep showing up." "We finish what we start," Marcus replied. Over the following weeks, Marcus and the Desert Riders became regular fixtures in Jennifer and Harper's recovery. It wasn't planned or discussed formally. It simply happened, each member finding ways to contribute. Tommy, with his mechanical expertise, donated his time to teaching a motorcycle maintenance class at the community center near Jennifer's new apartment, creating a legitimate reason for Desert Riders to be in the neighborhood regularly, providing an implicit security presence. Vincent, who worked part-time at a sporting goods store, enrolled Harper in a youth soccer program and made sure she had proper equipment. The 8-year-old, initially shy and withdrawn, began to blossom under the attention and normalcy. Raymond used his construction contacts to get Jennifer hired as an administrative assistant at a mid-sized contracting firm. The pay wasn't spectacular, but it offered health insurance and stability. Daniel, Gregory, and Kevin took turns happening to shop at the grocery store near Jennifer's apartment during her regular shopping times, ensuring she never walked to her car alone at night. Marcus himself became an unexpected mentor to Harper. The girl had latched onto him with the fierce devotion of someone who'd found a protector when she needed one most. He taught her how to ride a bicycle, attended her soccer games, and helped with homework at the shelter's common area before they moved into the apartment. "You're good with her," Jennifer observed one evening as they sat on a bench outside the apartment complex, watching Harper practice her soccer kicks against a wall. "Do you have kids?" "No," Marcus said. "Never married, no children. The club's been my family for a long time." "That seems lonely." Marcus considered this. "Sometimes. But loneliness and being alone are different things. I've got my brothers, that's enough." Jennifer turned to look at him, studying his weathered face. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure. Why did you really help us? And don't say it's just what you do. This has gone way beyond a rescue. You've all invested so much time, so many resources. Why?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment, watching Harper laugh as her ball bounced away. "I had a younger sister named Angela. She was smart, funny, had her whole life ahead of her. When she was 23, a drunk driver ran a red light and hit her car. She died instantly." Jennifer's hand flew to her mouth. "Marcus, I'm so sorry. It was 7 years ago. I've made peace with it mostly, but what I couldn't shake was the helplessness. I wasn't there. I couldn't protect her, couldn't save her." He looked at Jennifer directly. "When Harper grabbed my vest and begged me to save you, I saw a chance to be there for someone who needed protecting, to not be helpless. Does that make sense?" "Perfect sense," Jennifer whispered. "You saved my life, Marcus, both our lives, and you've given us something I thought we'd lost: hope." Their friendship deepened over the summer months. Marcus found himself looking forward to his visits, to Harper's excited greetings and Jennifer's warm smiles. The Desert Riders teased him good-naturedly about his family, but there was approval in their eyes. They'd all grown attached to the Mitchell family. Jennifer thrived in her new environment. The bruises faded, replaced by healthy color in her cheeks. She attended therapy sessions regularly and joined a support group for domestic violence survivors at Chrysalis. Harper, enrolled in a new school for the upcoming fall semester, showed remarkable resilience. The nightmares that had plagued her initially became less frequent, but not everyone was happy about their progress. In mid-August, Marcus received a concerning call from Amanda Rodriguez. "We have a problem. Derek's brother, Nathan Thompson, was released from prison last week. He's been making inquiries about Jennifer, more aggressive than the others." Marcus felt ice form in his stomach. What kind of inquiries? He showed up at Jennifer's old workplace, the one she got fired from. Asked her former manager for an address. When they refused, he made threats, vague enough to not warrant arrest, but clear enough to be concerning. "Does Jennifer know?" "I'm telling her this afternoon. I wanted you to know first because, well, you've become her support system. She's going to be scared." Marcus ended the call and immediately contacted his crew. An emergency meeting was called at their usual gathering spot, a motorcycle repair shop that Tommy partially owned on the south side of Phoenix. "Nathan Thompson has a record," Kevin reported, having used his connections to pull information. "Armed robbery, assault with a deadly weapon, drug trafficking. He did 8 years of a 12-year sentence. He's not like Derek. He's worse, smarter, more violent, and loyal to family above all else." "What's his angle?" Daniel asked. "Revenge," Marcus said grimly. "Derek's facing serious time, partly because Jennifer's testifying. Nathan probably blames her for his brother's situation. He wants to intimidate her, maybe even hurt her, to get her to drop the charges or refuse to testify." "That's not happening," Vincent said flatly. "Agreed," Gregory added. "So what's the plan?" Marcus stood, pacing the concrete floor of the shop. "We increase protection. Rotating schedules, never leave her or Harper alone, especially during the trial preparation meetings with the DA's office. We also need to document everything Nathan does, every threat, every appearance. Build a case for a restraining order." "And if he escalates?" Raymond asked quietly. Marcus met his eyes. "Then we handle it, but legally. We're not giving anyone ammunition to paint us as the bad guys." Over the next 2 weeks, Nathan Thompson circled like a predator, testing defenses. He appeared at Harper's soccer practice, standing at the fence line, saying nothing but making his presence known. Security, in the form of Daniel and Gregory, escorted him off the premises. He drove past Jennifer's apartment complex repeatedly, always just slowly enough to be noticed, but not slow enough to be legally harassed. The stress began to wear on Jennifer. The confidence she'd built crumbled under the weight of renewed fear. Harper's nightmares returned. Marcus could see the life draining from both of them, replaced by the haunted looks they'd worn when he first met them. "I can't do this," Jennifer told Marcus one evening, her voice breaking. "I can't testify. It's not worth it if something happens to Harper. Maybe if I drop the charges, they'll leave us alone." "They won't," Marcus said firmly but gently. "Men like Nathan and Derek, they don't stop because you surrender. They stop when they're forced to. You drop those charges, Derek walks free eventually, and this starts all over again. Is that what you want for Harper?" "I want her safe." "Then you finish this. You stand up in court and tell the truth, and we'll be right there with you, every step." Jennifer covered her face with her hands, sobbing. Marcus put an arm around her shoulders, letting her cry. "I'm so tired of being afraid," she whispered. "I know, but you're stronger than you think. You've already survived so much." What Marcus didn't tell her was the plan he and the crew were developing. If Nathan wouldn't back off through legal means, they would need to send a more direct message. Not violence. Marcus wouldn't cross that line unless absolutely necessary, but a clear demonstration that Jennifer Mitchell was under the protection of people who wouldn't be intimidated. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Nathan Thompson made a critical mistake. The Phoenix night air hung heavy and warm as Marcus sat on his motorcycle outside Jennifer's apartment complex, third night in a row of volunteer security duty. It was past 11 p.m., and most residents had retreated indoors to their air conditioning. Street lamps cast orange pools of light across the parking lot, leaving shadows that seemed to pulse with urban tension. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Kevin. "Target spotted. Circling the block in a black Ford pickup. License matches Nathan Thompson's vehicle." Marcus immediately alerted the others. Tommy and Vincent were positioned at opposite ends of the complex. Raymond and Daniel monitored from a nearby 24-hour diner with a clear view of the main entrance. Gregory sat in his pickup truck down the street, ready to block exits if needed. 5 minutes later, the black Ford rolled slowly into the parking lot. Nathan Thompson sat behind the wheel, late 30s, heavily tattooed, with a shaved head and the same manic energy as his brother, but tempered with more intelligence. He parked directly across from Jennifer's ground floor apartment, killed the engine, and sat there, just sat there, staring at her windows. Marcus's jaw clenched. This crossed the line from harassment to stalking. He pulled out his phone and started recording video, documenting the time, date, and Nathan's behavior. After 15 minutes of Nathan doing nothing but maintaining his menacing vigil, Marcus made a call to Sergeant Winters, the same officer who had responded to the rescue. "Sergeant, this is Marcus Daniels. I'm at the Sunrise Apartments on East McDowell. Nathan Thompson, brother of Derek Thompson, is currently stalking the domestic violence victim from the case you handled in June. He's been here for 20 minutes, staring at her apartment. I have video evidence." "Don't approach him," Sergeant Winters warned. "I'm sending a unit now." But Nathan wasn't done. He exited his truck, and Marcus saw what he'd been waiting for. Nathan carried a can of spray paint. He approached Jennifer's apartment door and began painting large, crude letters. "Snitch," that was enough. Marcus revved his engine, a deliberate, thunderous roar that shattered the night silence. Immediately, 6 other motorcycles answered from different positions around the complex, creating a symphony of mechanical warning. Nathan spun around, spray can still in hand, as 7 bikers converged on his position from multiple directions. They formed a semicircle around him, blocking retreat to his truck. Headlights illuminated him like a stage performer caught in spotlights. "Nathan Thompson," Marcus said, his voice cold and hard. "You're making a big mistake." Nathan tried to front bravado, but Marcus could see fear flickering in his eyes. "I'm not doing nothing illegal, just expressing my First Amendment rights." "Vandalism, stalking, witness intimidation," Tommy listed off. "That's 3 crimes I can count without trying hard." "You can't prove nothing." Marcus held up his phone, showing the video recording. "Actually, I can prove everything. But here's what's going to happen instead. You're going to get in your truck, drive away, and never come near Jennifer or Harper Mitchell again. Not at their home, not at work, not at school, not at the grocery store, nowhere. Ever." Nathan sneered. "Or what? You gonna beat me up? 7 against 1? Real tough guys." "No," Marcus said quietly. "We're not going to touch you. We don't need to. See, the Phoenix Police Department is already on their way. They'll arrest you, and you'll violate your parole. Back to prison you go. But if by some chance you make bail or slip through the system," Marcus leaned forward on his handlebars, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper, "then you'll have 7 brothers watching you every single day. We'll follow you to work. We'll be outside your house. We'll document every move you make, every law you break, every person you threaten. We'll make your life so uncomfortable, so scrutinized, that you'll wish you'd never heard the name Mitchell." "We have contacts," Kevin added, his military bearing evident. "Police, lawyers, judges, social workers, reporters. You want to play games? We'll bury you in legal consequences." Nathan's bravado cracked. "My brother's going to prison because of that woman." "Your brother's going to prison because he kidnapped and assaulted someone," Vincent corrected. "That's on him, not on his victim for telling the truth." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Nathan heard them too. Panic crossed his face. "Last chance," Marcus said. "Disappear from their lives tonight, forever, or face consequences." Nathan made his choice. He bolted for his truck, abandoning the spray paint can. But Gregory had anticipated this, positioning his pickup to block the exit lane. Nathan's truck screeched to a halt as police cruisers entered from the main gate. Officers emerged with weapons drawn. "Out of the vehicle! Hands where I can see them!" Nathan complied, cursing as he was pulled out and cuffed. Sergeant Winters arrived moments later, surveying the scene with an expression that mixed exasperation and respect. "Mr. Daniels," she said, approaching Marcus, "you have that video." Marcus handed over his phone. She watched the footage, her frown deepening. Clear evidence of vandalism and intimidation. Combined with his parole status, this should keep him locked up for a while. Good, Marcus said. Sergeant Winters lowered her voice. You know, there's a fine line between being helpful citizens and being vigilantes. You're walking that line pretty carefully. We haven't laid a finger on him, Marcus pointed out. No, you haven't. And that's why I'm not arresting you all for intimidation right back. She handed him his phone. But Marcus, this needs to end. You can't be Jennifer Mitchell's personal security force forever. We're friends looking out for a friend, Tommy interjected. Uh-huh. Sergeant Winters looked skeptical, but not entirely disapproving. Well, friends, I'd suggest you all go home and let us handle this. As Nathan was transported away, Jennifer emerged from her apartment with Harper clutching her hand. The girl wore princess pajamas and looked terrified. Jennifer's face was pale. What happened? I heard motorcycles and sirens. She saw the graffiti on her door and stopped, her expression crumbling. Marcus quickly moved to block Harper's view, but the child had already seen it. Mummy, what's that word mean? Nothing, baby, Jennifer said shakily. It doesn't mean anything. Actually, Daniel said, pulling cleaning supplies from his motorcycle's storage compartment, he'd come prepared. It means some people can't spell. The correct term is person who reports criminal activity to authorities, but that wouldn't fit on the door. His gentle humor broke the tension slightly. While Daniel, Raymond, and Gregory worked to clean the door, Marcus explained what had happened. Nathan Thompson came here to frighten you. He failed. He's been arrested and will likely violate his parole. Derek's trial is in 3 weeks. After that, both brothers will be behind bars for a long time. Jennifer's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't tears of fear this time. You keep saving us. Over and over, you keep showing up. That's what family does, Vincent said simply. Harper tugged on Marcus's vest. Mr. Marcus, are you going to be at my soccer game tomorrow? Marcus knelt down to her level, smiling. Wouldn't miss it, kiddo. You're the star player, right? Well, I'm pretty good, Harper admitted with childish pride. As the crisis passed and police finished their work, Marcus noticed something in Jennifer's demeanor had shifted. The fear remained. That would take time to fully fade. But underneath it was determination. She'd been pushed to the breaking point and hadn't broken. Instead, she'd found she had people willing to stand between her and danger. I'm going to testify, Jennifer said firmly, looking at Marcus. No matter what. Derek and Nathan need to answer for what they've done, not just to me, but to everyone they've hurt. You're sure? Marcus asked. I'm sure, because I'm not alone anymore. And Harper needs to see that standing up to bullies matters, even when it's hard. Marcus felt pride swell in his chest. This was the woman who'd been cowering in a broken chair months ago, beaten and hopeless. Now she stood tall, ready to face her demons in court. Over the next 3 weeks, the Desert Riders maintained their protective presence, but the threat ceased. Nathan remained in custody, his parole revoked. Derek's legal team attempted plea bargains, but the DA's office held firm, bolstered by Jennifer's unwavering commitment to testify. Marcus attended every pre-trial meeting with Jennifer and the prosecutors, sitting in the waiting room with at least 2 other club members. They'd become a familiar sight at the courthouse, 7 intimidating bikers who radiated protective energy but never caused trouble. The day of the trial arrived in late September. Phoenix's infamous summer heat had finally begun to break, replaced by more tolerable temperatures in the low 90s. The Maricopa County Superior Court building loomed imposingly downtown, its modern architecture a stark contrast to the human drama unfolding inside. Jennifer wore a simple blue dress that Harper had helped pick out. Her hair was styled neatly, and though she was visibly nervous, she carried herself with dignity. Harper stayed with Patricia Chen, the diner owner who had become an unexpected grandmother figure to the girl. The Desert Riders couldn't all attend, courtroom space was limited, but Marcus sat in the gallery, directly in Jennifer's line of sight. She'd asked him to be there specifically. "So, I know I'm not alone when I look out," she'd explained. The trial lasted 3 days. Derek's defense attorney tried to paint Jennifer as vindictive, claiming she fabricated injuries and exaggerated abuse. But the medical records were damning: hospital visits with documented injuries, police reports from previous domestic disputes, photographs of bruises, broken bones, and Harper's terrified face the day of the rescue. When Jennifer took the stand, her voice shook initially, but it grew stronger as she testified. She described years of escalating violence, of living in constant fear, of trying repeatedly to leave only to be found and dragged back. She detailed the kidnapping, the threats, Derek's drug-fueled rages. Derek's attorney tried to rattle her during cross-examination. "Ms. Mitchell, isn't it true that you stayed with Mr. Thompson voluntarily for years, that you accepted financial support from him?" "I stayed because I was afraid he'd kill me if I left," Jennifer replied steadily, "and he promised he would multiple times. I finally got brave enough to run when I realized Harper was starting to think his behavior was normal. I didn't want my daughter growing up believing that love looks like violence." The courtroom fell silent. Even the defense attorney seemed momentarily affected. The prosecution's closing argument was devastating, combining Jennifer's testimony with physical evidence, witness statements from the desert riders about the rescue, and Derek's own criminal history. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours, guilty on all counts. Derek Thompson was sentenced to 22 years in prison with no possibility of parole for at least 15 years. When the sentence was read, Derek lunged toward Jennifer, screaming threats, until bailiffs restrained him and dragged him from the courtroom. Jennifer sat frozen, processing the reality. It was over, truly over. Marcus met her outside the courtroom, where the full Desert Riders crew waited. Jennifer walked directly to Marcus and hugged him tightly. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything. For believing me, for protecting us, for not letting me give up." "You did this," Marcus told her. "You're the one who stood up and told the truth. We just made sure you had the chance." As they left the courthouse, emerging into the Arizona sunshine, Marcus felt a sense of completion. The rescue had been immediate and dramatic, but this, supporting Jennifer through months of recovery, protecting her from threats, standing by her side through the legal process, this was the real victory. Harper was waiting at the bottom of the courthouse steps with Patricia. When she saw her mother, she ran forward, and Jennifer swept her into her arms. "It's over, baby," Jennifer said, crying and laughing simultaneously. "We're safe now, really safe." Harper looked over at Marcus and the others. "Because of the motorcycle men." "Because of a lot of good people," Jennifer corrected, "including some really special motorcycle men." Vincent captured the moment on his phone. Jennifer and Harper embracing, the Desert Riders standing behind them like guardians, the courthouse looming in the background. He'd later have it framed and hung in their clubhouse, a reminder of why they rode, why they existed, why brotherhood meant something beyond just themselves. 6 months after Derek Thompson's sentencing, Marcus stood in the community center gymnasium on a Saturday afternoon in March, watching Harper's soccer team claim victory in their regional tournament finals. The Phoenix spring weather was perfect. Mid-70s, clear skies, gentle breeze carrying the scent of desert flowers blooming after winter rains. Harper had scored 2 goals, and her confidence on the field reflected the changes in her life. She laughed freely now, made friends easily, and the nightmares had finally stopped completely, according to Jennifer. The little girl who had hidden behind a dumpster, terrified and desperate, had transformed into a vibrant 9-year-old with her whole future ahead of her. "She's something special," Tommy observed, standing beside Marcus as they watched the team celebrate. "Takes after her mom," Marcus replied. Jennifer had flourished as well. Her position at the contracting firm had evolved into a management role with a significant raise. She'd completed her therapy program at Chrysalis and now volunteered there part-time, helping other domestic violence survivors navigate their own escapes and rebuild their lives. She'd become an advocate, speaking at fundraising events and sharing her story to help others find courage. The relationship between Jennifer and Marcus had evolved naturally over the months. What began as rescuer and victim had transformed into genuine friendship built on mutual respect and shared experiences. They spent time together beyond the security concerns, dinners with Harper, movie nights, weekend trips to explore Arizona's natural beauty. The Desert Riders had gained something valuable too. Their reputation in the community shifted from just another motorcycle club to recognized protectors and advocates. They received invitations to speak at schools about standing up to bullies, to participate in domestic violence awareness campaigns, and to mentor at-risk youth. "Marcus," Harper called out, running toward him with her gold medal bouncing against her chest. "Did you see my goals? Did you see them?" "I saw them. You were amazing." Marcus caught her as she launched herself at him, lifting her in a celebratory spin. Jennifer approached, her smile radiant. She wore jeans and a tournament t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a ponytail, looking younger and happier than Marcus had ever seen her. "We're going for pizza to celebrate. You and the guys should come." "We'd love to," Marcus agreed. At the pizza restaurant, surrounded by Harper's teammates and their families, Marcus found himself reflecting on how much had changed since that sweltering June day when a desperate little girl had grabbed his vest and begged for help. One moment of choosing to act rather than walk away had created ripples that touched dozens of lives. Vincent had started dating Amanda Rodriguez from the shelter, finding in her a kindred spirit who understood the importance of service. Tommy had enrolled in community college, pursuing a degree in social work. Raymond had reconnected with his estranged daughter, inspired by watching Marcus's relationship with Harper. Each of them had been changed by the experience. As the celebration wound down and families began departing, Jennifer pulled Marcus aside. "Can we talk? Just for a minute?" They stepped outside into the parking lot, the desert night settling around them with its particular stillness. "I've been offered a job," Jennifer said. "Director of Community Outreach at Chrysalis. It's a significant position, full-time with excellent benefits. I'd be coordinating programs, managing volunteers, doing public speaking, everything I've been doing part-time but official." "That's incredible, Jennifer. Congratulations." "There's a catch," she continued, her expression turning serious. "It requires occasional travel, conferences, meetings with other shelters across the state, advocacy work in the capital, and I'm worried about Harper, about leaving her, even for a day or two. After everything we've been through, the thought of being separated." Marcus understood immediately. "You're afraid something will happen when you're not here to protect her." "Exactly. And I know that's probably irrational. Derek's in prison, Nathan's in prison, we have restraining orders, we're safe, but the fear doesn't always listen to logic." Marcus chose his words carefully. "You've spent years letting fear make your decisions. This job sounds like exactly what you're meant to do. You'd be helping hundreds of women in situations like you were in. Harper would be so proud of you." "But who would watch her when I travel?" "Me," Marcus said simply. "Us, the whole crew. Jennifer, you're not alone anymore. You have a support system now. Harper can stay with Patricia or with me, or we can rotate, whatever makes you comfortable. But you can't let fear steal this opportunity from you." Jennifer's eyes glistened with tears. "You've already given us so much. I can't keep asking for more." "You're not asking, I'm offering. That's what family does, remember?" She laughed through her tears. "You keep saying we're family, because you are. You and Harper both. You've become part of our lives in ways I never expected. The Desert Riders. We're better people because of you. You showed us that our brotherhood means something beyond ourselves." Jennifer stepped forward and kissed Marcus on the cheek, then pulled back, slightly embarrassed. "Sorry, thank you. Again. Always. Thank you." Marcus felt warmth spread through his chest. "Take the job, Jennifer. Harper will be fine. You'll be fine. And we'll all be here whenever you need us." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "Okay, I'll accept it." Inside the restaurant, Harper pressed her face against the window, watching them with curious eyes. When she saw them looking, she waved enthusiastically. "She adores you, you know," Jennifer said. "She tells everyone at school about her friend Marcus, who rides motorcycles and saved her mum. You're her hero." "She's pretty heroic herself," Marcus replied. "That kid's got more courage than most adults I know." They rejoined the group inside, and the conversation flowed easily. Harper showed off her medal to anyone who would look, recounting her goals with increasing embellishment each time. The Desert Riders teased each other, shared stories, and made plans for their next charity event, a motorcycle rally to raise funds for Chrysalis. As the evening ended and people prepared to leave, Marcus felt a profound sense of gratitude. He'd spent years after Angela's death trying to fill the void with the club, with the road, with constant movement. But he'd learned something important through Harper and Jennifer. Healing didn't come from running or from anger or from trying to replace what was lost. It came from opening yourself to new connections, from choosing compassion over indifference, from recognizing that every person you meet might be carrying burdens you can't see. And sometimes, the simple act of showing up, of refusing to walk away when someone needs help, could change everything. Harper tugged on his vest one more time before leaving. "Mr. Marcus, will you come to my birthday party next month? I'm turning 9, and Mom says I can have it at the park." "I'll be there," Marcus promised. "Wouldn't miss it." "Will you bring your motorcycle?" Marcus laughed. "If your mom says it's okay, I'll give rides to all the kids." Harper's face lit up like the phoenix sunrise. She hugged him quickly, then ran to catch up with Jennifer at the door. Tommy clapped Marcus on the shoulder. "You've gone soft, Ghost. Birthday parties and soccer games. What's next? Joining the PTA?" "Maybe," Marcus said, and he wasn't entirely joking. As they walked to their motorcycles in the parking lot, Kevin spoke up. "You know what this means, right? We've set a precedent. Word's going to spread about what we did for Jennifer and Harper. Other people are going to reach out, ask for help." "Good," Marcus said firmly. "That's what we should be doing, using our resources, our brotherhood, to make a real difference." "Could get complicated," Gregory warned. "We can't save everyone." "No," Marcus agreed, mounting his bike. "But we can save someone, and that's enough." The 7 motorcycles started in succession, their engines rumbling harmoniously in the night air. As they pulled out of the parking lot and onto the Phoenix streets, Marcus glanced back one more time. Through the restaurant window, he could see Jennifer and Harper gathering their things, laughing together, free from the shadows that had haunted them for so long. The Desert Riders rode through the city, not running from anything or toward anything in particular, just riding, just being present, just available for whatever came next. The road stretched ahead endlessly, illuminated by streetlights and starlight, full of unknown possibilities. Marcus thought about the journey that had brought him here. From the grief of losing Angela to the moment Harper grabbed his vest in desperation to watching that same girl score soccer goals with fearless joy. Life had a strange way of offering redemption when you least expected it, of turning pain into purpose, of transforming strangers into family. His phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. "Thank you for tonight, for everything. You've given us our lives back." Marcus typed a response as they paused at a red light. "You gave them back to yourselves. We just made sure you had the chance." The light turned green and the convoy accelerated into the night. Phoenix sprawled around them in all directions. Millions of people, thousands of stories, countless opportunities to choose compassion over indifference. 2 months later, Marcus stood on the same courthouse steps where they'd celebrated Derek's sentencing, but this time for a different reason. The mayor of Phoenix was presenting the Desert Riders with a Community Service Award, recognizing their work with domestic violence victims and at-risk youth. Local news cameras captured the moment as Marcus accepted the plaque on behalf of his brothers. "We're not heroes," Marcus said into the microphone, uncomfortable with the attention. "We're just people who decided to help when someone asked. Anyone could do what we did. Anyone should." In the crowd, Jennifer stood with Harper, both beaming with pride. Next to them stood Amanda Rodriguez, Patricia Chen, Christopher Wade, and dozens of others whose lives had intersected with the Desert Riders' mission. Behind Marcus, his 6 brothers stood tall in their leather vests, uncomfortable with the spotlight, but proud of what they'd accomplished together. After the ceremony, as people mingled and reporters asked questions, Harper worked her way through the crowd to Marcus. She'd grown noticeably in the past months, losing some of her little kid roundness, becoming leggier and more confident. "Mr. Marcus, when I grow up, I want to help people like you do," she announced seriously. Marcus knelt down to her level, as he always did when they had important conversations. "You can do that, Harper. You can be anything you want to be. Doctor, lawyer, teacher, police officer, whatever calls to you. The world needs good people in every profession." "Or I could ride motorcycles and save people," Harper suggested hopefully. Marcus laughed. "That too, but you've got time to figure it out. Just promise me something. No matter what you do, don't ever lose that courage you showed when you asked us for help. That moment changed everything. Your bravery saved your mom and started something bigger than all of us." Harper considered this with the solemnity of childhood wisdom. "I promise. And Mr. Marcus, you're still my hero. You're mine too, kiddo." As the sun set over Phoenix, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and purple that only the desert could produce, Marcus felt a completeness he hadn't experienced in years. The ache of Angela's loss would never fully disappear. Grief didn't work that way. But it had transformed from a sharp, debilitating pain into something gentler, more bearable, integrated into the fabric of who he'd become. Her death had taught him about helplessness and loss. Harper and Jennifer had taught him about purpose and redemption. Together, these lessons had shaped him into someone who understood that life's greatest meaning came not from avoiding pain, but from choosing how to respond to it. The Desert Riders rode home that evening as a unit, their formation tight and coordinated, their bond stronger than ever. They'd started as men seeking brotherhood and freedom on the open road. They'd evolved into something more profound, a family built not on blood, but on shared values, mutual respect, and the commitment to stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. Marcus "Ghost" Daniels no longer felt like a ghost haunting his own life, moving through the world without truly engaging. He felt present, purposeful, connected. And it had all started with a desperate little girl behind a dumpster, pleading with strangers to save her mother. Sometimes salvation comes from unexpected places. Sometimes heroes wear leather vests and ride motorcycles. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply refuse to walk away when someone needs help. And sometimes, in the act of saving others, you end up saving yourself. The desert stretched endlessly in all directions as they rode into the night. Vast, beautiful, unforgiving, and full of life for those brave enough to look closely, just like the human experience itself, just like the journey that had brought them all together. The road ahead remained uncertain, as it always would be. But whatever came next, they would face it together. A brotherhood forged in compassion, strengthened by action, and defined by the simple choice to show up when it mattered most. Harper Mitchell would grow up knowing that good people exist, that asking for help is strength, not weakness, that courage can wear many faces. Jennifer Mitchell would continue her advocacy work, helping others find the escape routes she'd nearly missed. And Marcus Daniels would ride on, always alert for the next person who needed someone to simply refuse to look away. In the end, that was the true revenge against men like Derek and Nathan Thompson. Not violence or hatred, but the creation of a world where their victims found protection, support, and the chance to rebuild lives defined by hope rather than fear. Where children like Harper could grow up safe and confident. Where survivors like Jennifer could transform their trauma into purpose. The motorcycle's engines hummed their familiar song as Phoenix's lights twinkled in the gathering darkness. Behind them, a little girl and her mother headed home to an apartment where they felt safe, where nightmares had been replaced by dreams, where tomorrow held promise instead of terror. And somewhere in the Arizona night, 7 brothers rode on, not away from their pasts, but toward their futures, carrying with them the profound understanding that the smallest acts of courage could create ripples that changed the world, one rescued life at a time.